What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. This video I'm just going to be quickly covering Brentford versus Arsenal. I'm going to be watching quite a few games this week, so the more information I can give you on how each team set up, which players were getting the chances, and which players played well, which didn't, I feel like that's going to help you make better fantasy football picks. So, reviewing Brentford versus Arsenal, I want to start first by discussing the overall kind of gist of the game, which was who was getting the most chances, and offensively and defensively, how did Brentford look? How did Arsenal look? So starting with Brentford, I thought that Brentford actually looked pretty vulnerable to the counter-attack. They looked really, really vulnerable to the counter-attack. A lot of the times, easily, I think a long ball could have easily split their defence. Well, not even split it, but just gone way past the defence. They looked like they were pressing really well, but a good passing team, I think, would cut through Brentford quite easily. They did concede quite a few chances, especially on the left side. I think that Ayer, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but Ayer, he didn't look very assured in defence, and neither did Janelt. So I thought that those two played the worst for Brentford, Ayer and Janelt. Even though they won 2-0, I thought defensively they still looked very, very vulnerable. Now, defensive players that I thought did really well, I thought Pinnock did really well, irrespective of the assist. I thought that Pinnock did really well defensively. He made some really good tackles. Was just positioning, general positioning was really good, and I thought Henry did quite well. He did make some important little fouls here and there. He also was just very good at tackling as well. And then obviously with Canos, there wasn't really much defending involved for him. It actually sometimes looked more like a back four with Ayer on the left, these two as centre backs, and Rico Henry as the left back. Canos actually played more of like a winger slash wing back, which makes sense if it looks like a 3-5-2 here. Although he did look more like he was playing as a winger than a wing back. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting game. I thought that the player that was actually got the best chances was Mbeumo. I think that in terms of fantasy football, he looked a lot more threatening than Tony. Although Tony was actually vital to the team. Like he did some really good defensive duty in terms of defending set pieces and corners. He was really, really good in good positioning and made some key tackles. Although that's not typically what you want from a striker, he did look really kind of like really desperate to get a goal as well, which is a good sign. I mean, he didn't look not bothered, like some players do, but it wasn't really that many chances created for him. Didn't really feel like the ball ever really fell to him. I felt like he did better at creating some chances rather than getting shots. He played a bit deeper. I think he actually played more like a number 10 or behind the striker, and Mbeumo actually played more like the striker, which is very interesting for fantasy football because Mbeumo is listed as a 5.5 million midfielder. So yeah, for fantasy picks, I think the ones that stood out from Brentford were David Raya. I thought that he made quite a few good saves, and Brentford conceded quite a lot of shots, which means that he will get opportunities to save. Whether they get clean sheets, I don't think so. I don't think they'll get many clean sheets, but I do think he's the type of goalkeeper who can get a lot of saves, so which is sometimes very useful as well. But in terms of defenders, I wouldn't target Janssen or Ayer. I think that neither of them are particularly good for fantasy football. If I was to target goalkeeper or defence, I'd take Raya, Pinnock, and Henry. I thought Henry got forward quite a bit. Didn't look super attacking, but I think he will grow into the season. Don't forget he did have quite a large injury spell in the Championship, but before that and after that he was actually really good. So yeah, I thought Rico Henry did well in defence. And Pinnock is a real threat from set pieces, and he just seems to somehow pop up and further down the pitch, but also be in the right areas defensively as well. So I thought these two, both 4.5 million defenders, did really well. Personally, for me, the one that stood out the most was Mbeumo. He got some really good shots off, and he looked really, really threatening. Like he just looked like players were struggling to deal with him. Tony did really well as well, but he was playing a little deeper. Now, I think for future matches, I do think Chote and Tony will play further up, and he will get goals. He will definitely get goals. It's just for this game, he just looked like he was playing a little deeper, trying to link the play a little bit more. So that's Brentford. In summary, even though Canos got the goal, I don't think I would target him because Mbeumo is the same price, and he looked like he was getting into better positions playing further up. So for me personally, Mbeumo, Tony, Henry, Pinnock, and Raya are the ones to keep your eye on. For Arsenal, let's just have a quick overview of how I thought Arsenal did. I thought Arsenal actually, they controlled the game well, and they definitely created chances. They just didn't finish them, and they just kind of looked a bit shaky at the back, and they're just not really. They didn't really look like they had a proper plan in place. It just kind of looked like individual bits of skill, or kind of. I mean, most of the plan it kind of fell to Tierney. I felt like the plan was just to pass it around, get it to Tierney. Tierney puts a cross in, someone tries to score, or Smith Rowe will try to dribble through a load of players and either do some 1-2s and then get a shot off, or pass to someone and get a shot off, or Nicolas Pepe would basically run down the wing, cut on his left, and have a shot. That was pretty much the only three plans that they had, and it didn't really work very well. But having said that, now personally, I don't think Arteta will do that well this season. I think that he doesn't have enough players on board. I feel like there may be a little bit of a disgruntled camp in Arsenal. I think that some players, like maybe Lacazette and Aubameyang, I think maybe those two don't seem that kind of on board with his plans. Maybe that will change throughout the season, but who knows. But personally, for me, for fantasy football, the main player that stood out to me was Kieran Tierney. Now, for game weeks 2 and 3, I obviously wouldn't go for Tierney because he's playing Chelsea and Man City, but after that, they've got a really good run of fixtures, and he created a hell of a lot of chances, and he got some shots off as well. He's only 5 million. I thought that Kieran Tierney did really, really well during this game. So yeah, if I was to target one player out of this whole team, it would be Kieran Tierney. The other two players who I'd potentially look at as well, definitely Smith Rowe. I think that 5.5 million for a midfielder who he was creating most of the chances and getting the shots and getting the shots in, and also the best chances kind of fell to him. I thought that he played really well for 5.5 million. I think he's a no-brainer once they have good fixtures, and assuming Arteta has got all the players on board and they look like a team who's actually playing for the manager. The other player I would consider is Nicolas Pepe. Now, the only reason I wouldn't go with Pepe is because I think there are better options at 7.5. But I thought that he did really well. I thought that granted he is playing on the right, but I felt that he dribbled past players. He linked up well with Lokonga and Smith Rowe. I thought he did pretty well. So I think that those three players are the ones that kind of spring to mind. But personally, for now, I would avoid Arsenal because of the tough fixtures. But from fixture 4 onwards, I would definitely consider Tierney and Smith Rowe. Maybe consider Pepe, but most likely Smith Rowe and Tierney. So yeah, that's my summary of Brentford versus Arsenal. Personally, going forward, I think that I will be targeting teams who play Brentford because I think that they are, even though they won 2-0, I feel like it was very deceiving because a better team who comes up against them, who is good at the counter-attack and good at in open play, like teams like Leicester City, Man City, Liverpool, United, I think they will definitely put quite a few goals past Brentford. So I would actually target teams playing against Brentford when they're away from home. I don't know how they will do at home. I think the fans, like just quickly mention as well, the fans were absolutely incredible on Brentford's part. Like I think that when teams go to Brentford's home ground, I think they're actually probably going to struggle more. Doesn't necessarily mean they won't let in goals, but I think that Brentford will definitely are less likely to lose at home because of just how the energy and the buzz around that stadium. You could tell like it lit the players on fire. Like they were really pressing hard. They were working really hard, and they were defending every corner, every set piece. They really, you could tell they really wanted it. Could have just been because it was their first match, but I think that if it continues that way, they will be a tough team to play against at home. But away from home, I would definitely target teams playing against them offensively because they looked very vulnerable to the counter-attack, the long ball, and open play. For teams that sit deep against them, maybe not worry as much, but for teams that play open attacking football, they will put goals past Brentford. So yeah, that's my final summary of this game. Good game to watch, and stay tuned for quite a few games will coming up in this game week. I think United versus Leeds will be one that I'm definitely watching. Liverpool versus Norwich, and probably Spurs versus Man City. So stay tuned for those.